Hi, this is Hans from Dakota Angler and Outfitter. Today we're going to tie a ultraviolet Baetis nymph. We've got a Daiichi 1560 hook in the vise with the tungsten bead on using TMCO 16-aught thread. We're going to tie in a tail of Coq de Leon fibers. We want that tail to be equal to the hook shank in length. You can tie that in and pull it to length. You want, again, that tail to be roughly the same length as the hook shank. For the abdomen on this fly, we're going to use mahogany micro tubing. You can adjust that color to match the Baetis nymphs in your area, either an olive or black in some cases if they're getting close to emergence. Tie that in down the length of the shank, advance your thread to the front of the hook, and we'll wrap the micro tubing forward. About 2/3 of the way to the eye of the hook. Once that's tied off securely, we'll trim off the excess micro tubing. At this point, we'll tie in our flashback, which is purple haze holographic fiber from Hareline Dubbin. Tie that in on the back of the fly. Now we'll dub a thorax. We're going to use UV ice dub. For this fly, you can again match the color scheme of the Baetis nymphs in your area. I'm using a UV brown. It's kind of an olive brown when you factor in the UV twinge to it. Dub a nice ball of a thorax. In front of the thorax, we're going to tie in some fluorofiber legs. I'm going to take a clump of fluorofiber. It's probably got a dozen fibers in it or so. We'll tie in one clump on the far side of the hook and bend the other half of the clump on the near side of the hook. At this point, we'll pull our purple haze holographic fiber over the top of the thorax. Tie that down with a couple wraps of thread. Once that's secure, we can trim off any excess. Then we'll trim our legs to length. Want the legs to extend just past the back of the thorax when they're folded back. At this point, we can do a few finishing thread wraps behind the bead, and then we'll do a 3-turn whip finish. Pull that tight, and then trim off our thread. At this point, we're going to make an epoxy back using Clear Cure Goo. We're going to use the thin Clear Cure Goo. And we'll apply a small drop of that to the back of the fly. I was using too large of an applicator tip here, so I ended up with enough to do several flies. I advise using the accessory kit now that I know better. The accessory kit with the finer applicator tips, so you don't waste as much as I'm wasting right now. Shape that with your bodkin just to make sure that you've covered the thorax completely. Once it's where it needs to be, go ahead and hit that with the UV light for around 5 or 10 seconds. And there you have a finished fly. This has been very effective for me this spring prior to Baetis hatches. Fish this deep or fish it as a dropper behind a dry. Thanks for watching.